I know we're never going to have a relationship. I mean, he's going to be 81, and he's at the end of his life. He doesn't have to answer anything to me, but he's going to have to answer pretty soon to the man upstairs. So for what he did to us, or why he tried to sabotage this family, I have no idea. I don't know why he's so angry. You know, Bob, also, I don't know. I mean, 3 weeks ago, I heard him on the Opie and Anthony show. I tuned into that show, and that's on Sirius Radio, so anything goes. You could say any kind of stuff you want to say, curse words. I couldn't believe that my father was so angry, and they loved getting him all riled up like that. He was using profanity and words about women that made me cringe, and I'm far from being a prude. And I couldn't believe that it's come to this point in his life, that it's that bad. He said things about Letterman. He said things about Sinatra. He said things about Joan Rivers, who used to be my boss, because I used to work in promotions for Tribune Entertainment, and Joan was a lovely lady and treated me with respect. And I had a wonderful time over there with Joan Rivers and Geraldo Rivera. And also, he said something very derogatory and filthy about Joy Behar. And I'm a massage therapist. I'm a licensed massage therapist, and I used to work at a 5-star spa in Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. And Joy came in for a massage one time, and I ended up working on Joy. When she came into the room and I worked on her for an hour, we had an hour-long conversation. I told her who I was, and she told me that she was a good friend of my father's, that she'd been out to his house in Las Vegas. And I just told her a little bit about myself. I mean, I didn't write the book or anything at that point in my life. I told her I wanted to write one, but the book hadn't been written at that point. And we just had a nice conversation. She was a lovely lady, and she loved the massage, by the way. Only to hear my father bashing her on Opie and Anthony 3 weeks ago, saying filthy things. I couldn't believe it. I don't know where all this anger is coming from, and I thought, and my grandmother had thought when she was alive, that my father would eventually humble with age, which he hasn't. He's only gotten worse. And also, what puzzles me, what really puzzles me, is that some people think that that's his shtick. Like, he's not serious about that. That's just his whole, but that isn't. That's who he is. He is really angry and a tormented soul.
Well,
and I don't know why. I don't know why, because my father had a blessed life. He had 2 families that love him. He had a successful career, and he's been a healthy man. What could you want more than that?
While he was performing on the 19th, someone asked me to go out and see him. I couldn't because I was leaving for a cruise the very next morning, so I couldn't go out there.
Right.
But I understand he was doing the same shtick, with the names and the anger. But you said something that I find interesting, because when I was interviewing him in this very studio, I alluded to that before I introduced you.
Grace?
He was, all of a sudden, he starts screaming at this woman, Grace, and I didn't know who Grace was. I put 2 and 2 together and figured out it must be his sister. Now, what does Grace think about all this?
Well, my Aunt Grace is his older sister. So my Aunt Grace, I think, is about 83 years old. She's a very religious woman, and she's tried to, contact my father numerous times and talk with him. I think he was the closest with her because she was closest in age to him. He has 2 other sisters, but they're like 11, 12 years younger than he is. Nobody can get at my father. And even when they called his house and his wife had answered, she did everything to push them away. So Grace, all my Aunt Grace says at this point is, all we can do, Mike, is pray for your father. All we can do is pray for him. And that's what I said. I forgive him. My grandmother told me I would have to do it. I have forgiven him. And we pray for him. My Aunt Grace has got everybody down in Florida praying for him.
Well,
well, what can I say? There's nothing you can do. If anybody out there is a fan of Pat Cooper, pray for him. That's all I could say.
Did you
he's
ever
not close
think
to
of
anybody. He
going
doesn't-
into comedy yourself, going into the nightclubs or anything?
No. I'm happy doing massage therapy. You know, I'm also a skincare specialist. I'm very happy doing that. I work on the celebrities, and it's been very good to me.
And you say Joan Rivers has been good to you?
She was sweet. Joan Rivers and Geraldo were like the best bosses you could have. When I worked over at Tribune and everything, I was on the Geraldo show. My father went berserk when he was on that show. He was on via telephone, and I appeared on the show talking about him and the way he was with the family. The audience was booing him. Geraldo, I have it all on DVD. Geraldo couldn't believe the way he was speaking. He said, "Enough, Pat, enough." You know, it was incredible. He's just been like an animal, so many years. But they were great bosses, and Tribune treated me like were really wonderful.
Well,
2 years of that was good. I didn't want to really be a producer, but 2 years of that was really nice. It was a great experience in my life, and I have only fond memories of Joan and Geraldo.
All right, so the bottom line for you,
okay,
because you're the guy I'm concerned with, I'm talking to you. The bottom line is, this has been cathartic.
Yes, it has been cathartic, yes.
You don't, for 1 second, regret coming out with this book?
Not at all. I only have one regret with the book, Bob, one regret. And that's the fact that my grandmother is not alive to see it, because she'd be very proud of me. I know she's smiling up there in heaven at me, but she'd be very happy to know that I did finally forgive my father.
Well, Michael, I want to congratulate you. I'm sure it took a lot of guts to do this.
Thank you.
At least
really
from where I'm
appreciate you
sitting,
having me on.
I think. Am I wrong in saying it took a lot of guts to do this?
Say again, I'm sorry?
Am I wrong in saying it took a lot of guts to do this?
No, not at all. There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears actually at that computer typing that book up for 3 years in a row. Every night, every day, tightening it up and putting it down and going through the memories. Sometimes I'd be crying, sometimes I'd be laughing, sometimes I'd be reminiscing about the good times at Coney Island and the few times I saw my father at the Copa, and the one time he took me for a ride on an airplane when I was a young boy, because I'd never been on a plane. It was those memories my grandmother used to tell me about. Pasquale Caputo, that was her son. When he became Pat Cooper, nobody knows who that is. We don't know who Pat Cooper is, but she certainly knew who Pasquale Caputo was, and that was her son. And her only concern was that he did well, and that he made a living at that, and he was healthy. And that's all we ever wanted for him. All the stuff, him going around saying that we wanted him for this, we want that, I don't know where that comes from. Sometimes it really freaks me out. But it's sad. I would have liked to have had a relationship with my father, but I see now that I'm a middle-aged man, I know that's never going to happen. So I wrote a letter to him. So being I can't tell him in person what my life was like, I'm sure he read the book, and now he knows what he missed.
What about your sister?
My sister, she has less of contact with my father through the years. I had a couple of times I went to go see my father, but my sister doesn't want anything to do with him.
How does she feel about the book?
She was very happy. She said to me in the book, and her review of my book was, "Beautiful book, Mike. Finally, the truth has come out."
All right, Michael, I want to congratulate you, and I want to thank you for joining us.
Okay.
And
I hope that your fans will buy the book on Amazon, Dear Pat Cooper on Amazon.com, or look at my website, DearPatCooper.com, to see the lovely video of my grandmother and me.
I want to do that right after the program. Thank you, Michael. Maybe we'll meet in person one day.
I would love that. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you for having me. I really greatly appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's an incredible story. There's a great deal could be said. It's a funny thing about Pat. I cannot dislike Pat. I have no reason directly to dislike him. Pat would come in my studio. He'd start screaming, hollering, and I'd fall down laughing. What is there about some people like Pat Cooper, Don Rickles, that they have perfected their anger? They've channeled it in such a way that everybody laughs. Isn't that incredible?